Hey guys, we're here with a coaches roundtable. We're going to have more of these throughout the blog just to have different topics that we find that are super important. So Coach Trista here with
Eric. Hi, everyone.
Coach Eric. We're going to talk about a thing that we've noticed in training, people being afraid to fail. So we want to talk about that and reasons why it's really important and reasons that we push you. So one thing I have to say is failing is essential with anything that we do. Lifts, gymnastics skills, really anything in the gym. You have to be okay with failing. What do you have to add to that, Eric? Anything good?
Yeah, I mean, that promotes growth, right? Most people don't just do something the very first time and succeed. They need to understand how to fail and be comfortable failing in order to achieve the goal that they've set out for themselves.
And when you're looking at coaches, you're looking at athletes that have the advanced movements, the lifts, the skills, you haven't seen the years of failing that came for those things to progress. So how many times have you failed ring muscle ups?
Right. I mean, there was a consistent period of time of just failure, but you need to overcome that. And, it's our job as coaches to be able to push and encourage and move that scaling along appropriately, or else you'll just be stuck in a consistent, repetitive period of some sort of scaling, but never actually building up to where you're intending to go.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So talking about your lifts, learning how to bail correctly. We teach you guys that. We teach you where to bail on the lifts and on, lifts that maybe you're a little bit afraid of bailing, like the back squat. Sometimes that can be a little scary. We have people spot you on each side so that you're set up for success, but also that you're going to take that risk and you're going to try to go for something that maybe you can hit, maybe you cannot, but there's only one way to find out. If we're scared of always pushing past that limit, we're never really going to know what our true 1 rep max is. We're never going to reach that potential that we're looking for. And I had that for a while when it came to trying gymnastic skills, where I was really afraid to push myself to try to get a bar muscle up for the longest time. And then one day I just went for it and I was like, all right, you have to throw your elbows over. And that was a moment for me that I had finally got one. I had the strength. I just wasn't getting the timing and throwing the elbows over. So it just took getting over that fear a little bit.
Yep. And stepping back and talking about the lifts a little bit more and really digging into that. They're complicated movements, and as we fix A, B may break, but the ultimate goal is a sustainable, repeatable, long-term lift that allows you to achieve your maximum potential. So we may be harping or criticizing or coaching on something, and that may get fixed, but that may lead to the next thing that requires coaching, which leads to the next thing that requires coaching, which ultimately leads you to be as successful as possible.
And you'll see that we're still working on things that we're still fixing. I am pretty open about how I had a pretty bad hitch when doing a snatch movement, and that's something that I've taken the time. I've actually stepped back in the weight and really worked on moving that bar without getting a hitch in there. And I would fix one thing and then something else would come up. And if you're in the 5 a.m. class with me, you would hear Eric come up and say, you're still getting that hitch. I don't like that hitch. And we talk about ways to fix it. So being coachable is really super important in learning and correcting and fixing those things. And there are times in the heat of the moment or heat of the workout that you're annoyed, but still try to take that in. And even with you're upset with yourself, try to take that in and be coachable and use that as a lesson to progress forward.
And, that goes with all aspects of life, right? You got to be coachable in everything, whether it's your relationship, your gym life, your work life, whatever it is. You never want to be the smartest person in the room, and you always want to be open to feedback and being coachable.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite things, actually, is listening to self-development books. I'm kind of a nerd about that. How about it?
You are.
Podcasts and books. Just learning different things just to be, try to be better in all aspects. And having humility, it's okay to fail. If you fail a lift, you fall down, like you do those things, it's just part of the learning process. If you see a toddler trying to take its steps for the first time, you're not like, oh, dumb baby, you can't even walk yet. You give them that grace. They're learning something brand new. We have to have that same compassion when it comes to ourselves when we're stepping into the gym doors and we're trying things like the Olympic lifts for the first time, because they are so complex and there's so many moving components to them that you have to be able to give yourself the grace to break it down and progress slowly. Neither of us got to lifting the weights that we're lifting overnight. This is progression over, for me, 12 years.
Right.
Anything that you want to share that you took a risk, you failed at, and you're really happy that you kept trying?
Yeah. So just recently I started hook gripping.
Yes.
Yep. And I have consistently seen higher weights on the snatch and the clean, weights that would be very, very iffy prior to doing so. So I knew it was there. I knew it was something I should be doing, but it was uncomfortable, so I didn't do it. But when I forced myself to do it, the rewards were quick to come by.
Good. I like hearing that.
Quickly, I talked about this to the classes, documenting your workouts, documenting your progress, making your trainings about you and about you being a better athlete, and not so much always having the best score in the whiteboard is incredibly important, because the scenario is I don't have good movement, but I'm able to move enough weight to be the best on the board until the people that learn the movement right pass you by, because they're able to do it fundamentally better than you, because you didn't take the time to do it because you were only worried about the whiteboard. You hurt yourself. Same scenario with documenting things. I did 20 wall balls and they were not to depth, but I put RX and I came back and did that same workout. And this time I actually went to depth, but my time was longer because I lied to myself and wanted that RX, and I thought it was important. And ultimately, in both scenarios, the athlete that's trying to get themselves ahead is actually putting themselves behind in both scenarios.
A lot of that lies with integrity, having integrity in your movements and integrity to no rep yourself.
Yep.
I think that that's really important. We are doing movements like wall balls, pistols. If you're not hitting that depth, no rep yourself and go for it again. You know when you're not hitting depth. You can feel it. And this is all coming on tomorrow. We're going into a 5 rep max overhead squat.
Yep.
So we will, as coaches, be looking at that depth to make sure that you're hitting that depth for every rep, or we're not going to count it, and just holding you accountable. And of course, there are some people that are still getting that range of motion, and we're going to hold them consistent throughout the whole thing, keeping notes exactly in your books about some days you just don't feel well, keeping that consistent too. So then when you do retest workouts, you have that information as a way to say, like, okay, I came in, but this day I had a cough and I wasn't breathing really well. So maybe the next time I test this, if I'm not beating that score, it's not that I'm not as fit. It could be that something else is going on.
Yep. You take that 5 rep max tomorrow and you do 5 quarter squats, it's 250 pounds. And then 6 months from now, you can't even get 3 overhead squats. Although they're better, at 250, you look as though you lost performance. It's frustrating.
So why we are relentless in our coaching and cueing and pulling those movements to standard out of you is because we know that you can do the movements to full depths. We know that you have the potential to hit all of your reps, and we know that you can complete the workouts in the scale that we're telling you to do, even if that means that you're not going to be number 1 on the board. I think that is something we have to take out of our head, is being number 1 on the board and hitting the scale that is going to benefit us in the long run. So you might have moved from doing a pike on the box to where you're just able to rep out those pike handstand push-ups. But then when we say, okay, let's add that leg up in the air, that's going to add a whole new dynamic, and it's going to put a little bit more weight onto your arms. It might slow you down. In the long run, it's going to help you develop those handstand push-ups a lot more than just staying at the same movement and just flying through.
Yep. Well said.
Anything that you want to add to that?
I don't think.
And I just want to say this. Don't be afraid to fail at anything that we do here. Number one, this room is full of people that are fun and compassionate, and they might tease you, but it's all in good-hearted ways. Everyone wants to see you do your best. And if someone's giving you shit, it's because they love you, and that's just how our team rolls. And looking back at myself as a gym owner for the past 10 years, there are many times that I've failed and I had to like roll with it and figure out the next movement and next step in class times and trying different things and different programming. We've went through programming for a couple of years to find out what worked for us. And we love Misfit. That's why we do it. And it works for us. But it took us a while to figure that out, of something that wasn't biased and was good for everybody. So there are times that we are just rolling and figuring this out as well, and failing and trying again. So it's all part of the process of what we do every day. And we just want to see you guys do better and stop worrying about the leaderboard and just worry about more about your performance and what you're capable of doing and leveling up to that next movement, because we know that you're capable of it. All right, that's it.